And I am back. Hello, how are you? Well, after a short break zaruri hota hai, here I am with another state set. Well, we started with Madhya Pradesh, then we moved on to Maharashtra, and now Rajasthan. Well, Rajasthan set questions really high level, but don't you worry, here we are at Team TES to help you with everything. I have got 15 question answers today for you with explanation. Of course, my explanation is here, but then if you want detailed explanation of all the chapters, all the topics that are covered in NET, SET across India, you can have our lecture notes, you can have our live classes, or you can also have our recorded lectures, okay? All of them by Kalyani ma'am. For any details, you can contact our office on this number 93878 39871. So, Rajasthan set aspirants, come on, let's start with today's question answers. Here, question number 1. The dystopian science fiction novel Oryx and Crake was written by the Canadian novelist. Your options are A. Margaret Atwood, B. Alice Munro, C. Rohinton Mystery, or D. Michael Ondaatje. Oryx and Crake was written by option A. Margaret Atwood, the lady on the screen, and look at that cover. Well, Margaret Atwood, born in the year 1939, is a Canadian writer. She is with us. Now, dystopian fiction is a major genre employed by Margaret in all her works. Okay. She wrote a trilogy of novels. I'll tell you the names of the 3 books. First is Oryx and Crake of the year 2003. Second, The Year of the Flood of the year 2009. And third, Mad Adam of the year 2013. Okay, this is a trilogy. Now let's talk about Oryx and Crake. ये है क्या novel? थोड़ा सा बताती हूँ. It tells us about a character named Snowman, who was initially called Jimmy. When was he called Jimmy? When mankind was there, but then after that, mankind was overwhelmed by plague. And because of which, Snowman had the loss of his best friend, who was what? Crake, and also the beautiful Oryx, whom both Crake and Snowman had loved. Now, for the answers, Snowman is out on a journey with the help of the children of Crake. Through wilderness he passes, which was actually recently a great city until powerful corporations took mankind on an uncontrolled genetic engineering ride. So this novel talks about genetic engineering. Even this can be asked, right? They can just maneuver, just change the questions here and there, but then you should know the crux. Okay? Aage badhe. Question number 2. John Dryden wrote his Defense of an Essay of Dramatic Poesy in response to an attack by. Your options are A. Lord Byron, B. Sir Robert Howard, C. Sir Walter Scott, or D. Thomas Shadwell. Dryden wrote Defense of an Essay of Dramatic Poesy to answer whom? To answer B, Sir Robert Howard. Now, a little bit about Dryden. You know him, lived from 1631 to 1700. He was an English poet and a literary critic. Now, first, let's talk about his work, Essay of Dramatic Poesy. Essay of Dramatic Poesy favors drama as an art form and gives arguments for the same. Okay, now about this work, Defense of an Essay of Dramatic Poesy, it was published in the year 1668, and it was written in response to the preface of The Duke of Lerma by Robert Howard. Which book? The Duke of Lerma, in which Howard has criticized and attacked Dryden's Essay of Dramatic Poesy. अब इतना बता दिया तो एक बात बताइए, Howard and Dryden एक दूसरे से connected थे. It's a fun fact, okay? How were they connected? Dryden was Howard's jijaji. क्योंकि Howard की जो sister थी, Lady Elizabeth Howard, she was the wife of Dryden. ये तो घर की लड़ाई हो गई, right? Let's move on to question number 3. Gerard Manley Hopkins described Alfred Tennyson pejoratively as a dash because of what Hopkins considered his uninspired poetry. Okay, what did G.M. Hopkins say for Alfred Tennyson, who is he? Okay, in a pejorative manner. The options are pseudo-Hellenist, option B, Parnassian, C, Malpropist, or D, Dionysian. G.M. Hopkins called Alfred Tennyson as option B, Parnassian. Abby Hopkins, you know, the smart guy on the screen, lived from 1844 to 1889, an English poet and a Jesuit priest who became famous only after his death. He gave us what? Sprung rhythm, imagery, nature, vivid use of imagery, nature, etc. Now, about this question, I'll tell you, Hopkins wrote a series of letters to his friend Robert Bridges. And in one such letter from 1864, he identifies three kinds of languages in poetry, okay? Three languages. The first is the language of inspiration. The second is Parnassian. And the third is Castilian, okay? Castilian. Now, by Parnassian, what did Hopkins mean? He meant competent but uninspired poetry, spoken on and from the level of a poet's mind, okay? Spoken on and from a level of a poet's mind. So it is competent, but it is not inspired. It is uninspired, okay? And he identified this trend in the works of Alfred Tennyson, Enoch Arden, okay? Aaya samajh mein? Aage badhe. Question number 4. On the Artificial Comedy of the Last Century is an essay written by, your options are A. Charles Lamb, B. Leigh Hunt, C. William Hazlitt, or D. Robert Southey. On the Artificial Comedy of the Last Century is by option A, Charles Lamb, who lived from 1775 to 1834. Now, apart from being an English essayist and poet, he was an antiquarian. Ab antiquarian kaun hote the? Student of antiquities or things of the past. Interesting, right? Now, let's talk about this essay, Artificial Comedy of the Last Century. Lamb says that comedy of manners, okay, comedy of manners of Congreve or Farquhar, let's take, it has become quite extinct on our stage. This is what Lamb says. Why? Because dramatic acts these days have been mingled with direct political action, which is not correct. That is what Lamb said. Yeah? Let's move on to question number 5. A linguistic system is a series of differences of sound combined with a series of differences of ideas. Who said this? Your options are A. Leonard Bloomfield, B. F.R. Lewis, C. Ferdinand de Saussure, or D. Alan Tate. Who said these lines about linguistics? अभी linguistics नाम आया है तो please Saussure को ही tick करना, right? Ferdinand de Saussure, you know, he was a Swiss linguist and a semiotician. Matlab, he spoke of signs and symbols, right? Lived from 1857 to 1913. He spoke of linguistics also, and these lines have been told by him, have been uttered by him in his book called as Course on General Linguistics. You can see the cover on the screen. This was originally published in French, okay, in the year 1916. These are actually his notes and lectures, which were published posthumously, right? Right. Chaliye, let's move on to question number 6. The Sense of an Ending is a book by, your option are A. Elsie Knights, B. F.R. Lewis, C. Clent Brooks, or D. Frank Kermode. The Sense of an Ending. This actually is an incomplete title, right? अभी अपन पूरा title बताते हैं. The answer is option D, Frank Kermode. The complete title is The Sense of an Ending, Studies in the Theory of Fiction, published in the year 1967. Okay. Now, a little bit about Sir John Frank Kermode. He was a British literary critic, lived from 1919 to 2010. In this book, The Sense of an Ending, he says that to make sense of our lives, we need to find some consonance between the beginning, the middle, and the end. Now, what is the beginning? That was the golden age. The middle is where we are living right now. It is in the process of, decadence, and it needs an urgent renovation. While what is the end? Many people believe that the end is very soon, okay? So in this book, Kermode says very famous lines of his, which also can come in exam. The lines are, I've written them here, no longer imminent, the end is immanent. Now, what is immanent? Immanent is something which has always already been, right? Abhi aage, I have given you this. Why? You will say, what is this? Well, there is another novel, jiska title is The Sense of an Ending by Julian Barnes. Look at him, the young Julian and the old Julian. मेरे को young and old photos डालने में बड़े मजे आते हैं. An English writer, and The Sense of an Ending is a 2011 novel by him. Right? Extra knowledge never hurts. Let's move on to question number 7. Arrange the following essays by T.S. Eliot chronologically. There are these 4 essays. You have to arrange them according to their dates of publication. I'll directly tell you the answer. Let's move to the answer. It is option 2, BC AD. So Tradition and the Individual Talent was published in 1919. Hamlet and His Problems was written in 1919 but published in 1920. Meta, after that, is Metaphysical Poets, which was published in 1921. And the last of his essays is called Homage to John Dryden, 3 essays on the poetry of the 17th century, which was published in the year 1924. The ho gaya answer BC AD. Easy. Tradition followed by Hamlet, followed by Metaphysical, followed by Homage. Right? Question number 8. The Road to Xanadu. The Road to Xanadu is written by, your options are A. S.T. Coleridge, B. Herbert Reed, C. J.L. Lewis, or D. William Emerson. Complete title bata do, answer bhi bata do. The Road to Xanadu, a study in the ways of imagination, published in the year 1927, was written by John Livingston Lewis. Okay, now Lewis lived from 1867 to 1945 and he shares his birth date with me. Kya birth date hai aapko dekhiye jaake. Now he was an American scholar and a literary critic specializing in S.T. Coleridge and Geoffrey Chaucer. Let's talk about this famous work of his, The Road to Xanadu. It examines the sources of Coleridge's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner and Kubla Khan. अब कैसे किया ये Lewis ने? Lewis actually went to Bristol Library and took out the notebook of S.T. Coleridge. Then he examined what was Coleridge reading during the time of composing these poems, and he made a connection. Awesome, right? Chaliye, let's move on to question number 9. Postmodernist thinkers developed concepts like difference and hyper-reality to subvert or to undermine. Your options are A. Myths and parables, B. Existing social phenomenon, C. Critically acceptable knowledge, or D. Grand narratives and university of being. Postmodernist thinkers किस चीज को undermine करते हैं? It is option D, grand narratives and university of being. देखो grand narratives क्या होते हैं? They are authoritarian, universalizing narratives. Easiest example can be the grand narratives of enlightenment, Marxism, etc. But postmodernism tells us about the short narratives, which are called as micro narratives. Now, similarly, university of being means the words which describe the properties of God, they mean the same thing when describing people or things. And this is also not what is propagated by postmodernism. So the answer is D. Let's move on to question number 10. What word does Bakhtin use to describe the process through which meaning is evolved out of interactions among the author, the work, and the reader? Which word has been given by Bakhtin? It's easy. Your options are A. Polyphony, B. Dialogism, C. Heteroglossia, or D. Chronotopia. You know it. It is option B, dialogism. And look at Bakhtin on the screen, a Russian philosopher and a critic who lived from 1895 to 1975. He said these lines in his book, Problems of Dostoevsky Poetics, as you can see it. In this book, he says that dialogism recognizes multiplicity and perspectives Okay, multiplicity of perspectives and voices, which means a multi-voiced, right? And a dialogic work constantly engages with other works and voices. Its meaning is evolved. How? Out of interactions among the author, the work, and the reader. और यहाँ पे आंसर आ गया. Easy. Let's move on. Question number 11. Sissy Jupe is a character in. Your options are A. Lewis Carroll's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, B. Dickens' Hard Times, C. Dickens' Christmas Carol, or D. George Eliot's Middlemarch. Sissy Jupe is a character in. Easy. It is option B. Dickens' Hard Times for These Times, which was first serialized in the year 1854. Sissy Jupes, you know, was also called Cecilia. She's a circus girl and a student of a very strict teacher, a fact-based teacher who's called Sir Thomas Gradgrind. But at the end of the novel, what we see is Jupes actually teaches Gradgrinds how to live a fact-free life. Okay. Now, a few fun facts about Dickens' Hard Times. First, it is his shortest novel. Second, it does not have a preface or illustrations, unlike Dickens' other novels. And third, it is the only novel of Dickens to not have scenes set in London. Okay? Let's move on. Question number 12. Arrange the following English poems in the correct chronological order. There are 4 poems and you have to tell me kaun si pehle likhi gayi. Ascending order. I'll tell you, I've written the poets and the year of publication. See, L'Allegro, the answer is option D, by the way. So, L'Allegro by Milton in the year 1645, La Mia by Keats in the year 1820, Theresis by Arnold in the year 1865, by Lapis Lazuli by Yeats, written in the year 1936. Okay, देखो Yeats is the youngest, Milton is the oldest. So answer आपको easily मिल जाएगा. Let's move on. Question number 13. The words beaded bubbles winking at the brim occur in. Your options are A. Ozymandias, B. Ode to a Nightingale, C. Hero and Leander, or D. Dejection and Ode. Beaded bubbles winking at the brim is taken from Ode to Nightingale, a poem by John Keats written in the year 1819. It describes Keats' journey into the state of negative capability. Now, what is negative capability? You have to tell me in the comments below. In this poem, the speaker is actually talking to a nightingale, okay? And what does he say? What does he mean by these lines? He tells the nightingale, if I could drink a bottle of vintage wine that would transport me to the warmer southern lands, the bubbles of this wine would play on the surface of the glass as well as in my wine-stained mouth. Right? Acha, let's move on to question number 14. Easy. Quotation. Cut is the branch that might have grown full straight, and burned is Apollo's laurel bough that sometimes grew within this learned man. These lines occur in option A, King Lear, B, Dr. Faustus, C, Jew of Malta, D, Paradise Lost. You know the answer. It is option B, Dr. Faustus by Christopher Marlowe. You can look here. I've given you the cover. It says the tragical history of the life and death of Dr. Faustus with new additions written by Christopher Marlowe. It's an Elizabethan tragedy based on German stories about the titular character Faust. Here, Chorus is a character, okay? So the character is Chorus, who is continuously talking to the audience and telling about Faustus's struggle with good and evil. These lines are actually uttered by Chorus just when the play begins. So Chorus concludes Faustus's story at the start of the play itself. What does the chorus say? It says that the audience has to regard his hellish fall. Whose fall? Faustus's hellish fall. Warning the audience that this is what happens to those who practice more than heavenly power permits. Okay? And this takes us to the last question of the day. Which of the following plays contains a play within it? The name of the play within the play is The Mouse Trap. Your options are A, The Duchess of Malfi, B, Pygmalion, C, A Midsummer Night's Dream, or D, Hamlet. It is Hamlet, right? It is Hamlet. Well, Hamlet only performs this play. Its name is The Murder of Gonzago, or The Mousetrap. And why does he perform it? He wants to unveil the truth, of whether his uncle is innocent or whether he's guilty of the death of Hamlet's father. But when the play is performed, Hamlet's uncle actually feels very uncomfortable, because of which Hamlet gets sure that it is his uncle who has killed his father, his papa. And we are done here. I hope you liked today's questions. Do tell me your score. I will come again with another set of 15 question answers to help you with Rajasthan set. And believe me, these questions are not just for Rajasthan set. The syllabus is as per net. So they will equally help you with net as well. Okay? This is Hina from Team TES. It was lovely being with you. Bye-bye.